Good afternoon. This is Jared Forte, and welcome to another episode, another session of Notes from the Route. This is session 14, and the topic of today's session is the limits of followship. You can find more episodes of Notes from the Route on my YouTube channel. You can just click there, subscribe, so you can never miss an episode. That's YouTube channel Jared Forte One. Also, go to jaredforte.com. That's GERADFORTE.com. And as always, you can watch the show and interact live right here on Google Hangouts on air. So let's get started with today's topic. And I want to start by talking about the promise. Now, the promise, what is this promise? The promise is, if you want what I have, then you must do what I do. It's a simple formula. If you want what I got, do what I do. Do what I've done. Put the work in that I've done. And then, boom, you're happy. Now, that's an extremely overly simplified formula, but you hear it, maybe not in those specific words, but you hear it in many different circles when you want to talk about, or when people talk about, well, like, what's the secret to success? You know, you put in the work, you see someone has done something, you figure out what they've done, you do that, voila, you have the success. And there's a lot of different formulas that have a kernel of truth to them. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. People have already been down the road that you are attempting to travel, so there's no need for you to try to reinvent the wheel. Or, there is no secret to success. It's just hard work. These things are all true. They're also, we hear them so much that perhaps they lose their ability to inspire us. So I wonder, what are some of your favorite success cliches, which are true, but have lost some of their power? They kind of just glaze past you. And I think that one of the reasons why they fail to touch us the way that perhaps it did the first time we heard them is because we understand that there is a little bit more to it than that. It's not just about me doing what you do, what you've done to get the results that you got. It's about me being you. It's about, there is something about you that is outside of the activity that you did that is responsible for your results. So we want to talk about that promise, and it's not something that's like new, or it's not something that's unique to, say, entrepreneurial or artistic pursuits. It's sort of a universal promise of society, and it's evolved throughout different economic paradigms that we've experienced. If you go back to the time when people lived on farms, and the promise was move to the city and you have a more opportunity, a better life for your family, whatever the case may be. If you, the promise was, get a college education so you can get a higher paying job and get a house and, have a better life, make your life better than your parents' life. Every generation should move up the chain. So these promises aren't new, and always on the fringe, always on the edge as an option, sort of an outside option, has been this idea of entrepreneurship, this alternative path that's been present throughout history, people who've been willing to take risks in order to get an outsized reward. And the path of the entrepreneur has always had a certain mystique to it. Now, today, many of those obstacles that made entrepreneurs, artists, people who live sort of on the edge, there are a lot of things that happen with technology that made that path on the surface more accessible to more people. A lot of the financial barriers that disappeared. There are things that you have access to that you can do now that don't require you to put all the things on the line that people in the past may have had to put on the line. You don't have to have all the levels of permission to get started that you used to have, and that's a wonderful thing. So we know that there are paths out there that are proven it. Intellectually, we can understand that, there's some path before us that is likely to help us to achieve some result that we have in mind. We understand this intellectually. We get that. So why is it so hard to take it? Why is it so hard for us to follow proven paths, to follow proven systems, to look at a set of steps that are before us and to just go through? Maybe it's not a challenge for you. Maybe you're one of those people who can jump and fall in line, pick up on a system and run with it. But the overwhelming majority of people have a struggle unless there is some very strict societal structures to support it, like you can follow the steps and go through school because you have the social support. That's what you're supposed to do. If you're doing anything that's sort of alternative, that social support isn't there, and it can be difficult to lock into a path and follow it until you get the results that you receive. Many people have struggles with that. So another question, beyond why is it so hard, the other question is why is it that we are so obsessed with other people's outcomes? When we have aspirations, many times our aspirations are fueled by something that we see that someone else has that we don't have. Why do we have to look outside of ourselves and make ourselves miserable by comparing what we have, what we do, with what someone else is presenting, what someone else apparently has or is apparently doing? Why do we as people have our aspirations tied so much in other people's lives? A deeper question is it even possible to get any level of clarity about the work that you're to do, about the work that's in front of you, the work that meets and fits your unique abilities and skills? Is it even possible to have any clarity to see what that is when we are tied up vicariously living through other people, obsessed with whatever other people happen to be doing or the results that other people happen to be achieving with what they're doing? So those are questions. I don't have the answer. I don't know what your story is. I know that I've fallen into that trap because you look and you see the grass always looks so green, you know? And I think the issue is, so let's say that, I mean, that's a question that everyone has to answer for themselves. And that's a question I have to deal with every day. But let's say, for the sake of this conversation, that you've answered that question for yourself. Let's say that you have earned some level of clarity about some work or creative endeavor that you want to pursue. Now, notice that the clarity is not about the outcome that you seek. It's about the work that you want to do or about the thing that you want to create. I don't think that is always effective. I think that for most people, let's say if you have an outcome that you're seeking, let's say money is an outcome that you are attempting to achieve with whatever it is that you're doing. You're performing, you want to earn a living, you're making something, you're building a business, you want to create income. For most people don't have the type of relationship with money that allows money alone to be a sufficient motivator. And the reason is, when that outcome, any outcome that you are using as a motivation, in many cases, there are any number of ways that you can achieve that outcome. So if your outcome is money, there are thousands of ways, thousands of legitimate ways that you can make money. It doesn't have to be doing this task that's before you or this work that you are about to invest yourself into. You don't have to do that to get money. You can get money any number of ways. And because of all of those options, because you know that you can get money another way, when the challenge comes in the work that you're involved in, that you are embarking on, if it's the outcome that you're attached to, then you have a tendency, or it's a lot easier to bail. It's a lot easier to switch courses because you're not really invested in the work, you're invested in the outcome. So you can easily rationalize or fool yourself into believing that somehow there's an easier way to accomplish this outcome, or there is a path that doesn't have these obstacles that I'm facing, and you don't have that emotional investment in the work. So, interesting thing is commitment. When you make a commitment, and like I said, you commit to a body of work, you commit to a choice of action, and you earn clarity. A lot of times, the commitment handles all the stuff handles all the hard part. What makes it hard to follow a path, what makes it hard to follow a given system, is not the system itself or the task itself, it's our commitment to it. Because we haven't bought in, we haven't committed and sold out to it. We still are looking at all these other options. So that's what makes it difficult. That's what makes us rebel against the system when we meet a challenge. All systems have them. When we bump against them, that's what throws us off course. So you've made the commitment, you're in. How far? So we go to the question, what's the limits of fellowship? What's the limits of modeling? Well, if you reach this point and you have this clarity, then it's virtually limitless. Fellowship can take you, modeling can take you further than you can imagine. There's a saying, a Buddhist saying, that when the teacher is ready, or the student is ready, the teacher appears. And that is true here. That this is the situation where that is true. When you have made a commitment, when you have achieved some clarity about the work that you want to devote yourself to, and you're present in that work, and you're not outside of your body vicariously living through other people's outcomes, when you are present in the work, then there isn't a limit to how much you can grow by following in the steps of people who have done the things that you are seeking to do, the mentors. You are in the process, so the lessons apply. You learn with the bias towards action. You're not just accumulating loose knowledge. You're learning things to put to work because you've committed to the work and you're in process. So that buy-in and that connection is the part that is different from the person who is just trying things out, testing things out. So what happens when that teacher appears and you've made that commitment? Then you evolve from being this haphazard, lane-changing tactic chaser, and your learning and your growth it's like an upward spiral. And it's just like purposeful growth. You know the path that you're on and the knowledge and the skills that you need to acquire. You move into the places that you need to move into to gain the skills that you need because you've sold out and you've committed. And you use a process of, you're not just copying people, it's sort of like a creative emulation. It's like what painters do. They go and they copy the brush strokes of master works of art, not so they can recreate it, just so they can understand the technique, so their bodies can learn the skills, and then they can invest those skills and techniques and mix it with their own vision to create something that's special. So that's it. That's the discussion for it. The limits of fellowship and modeling, there are no limits. If you've made a commitment and you're clear on your path, then there's no limit to where you can reach with the help of the right mentors, with the help of the right teachers. So that's been today's session. I really hope that you enjoyed the conversation. Again, you can follow me on Twitter at @thisjared, or go to my website, jaredforte.com. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, all the different ways that you can do, all the different ways you can follow me. I look forward to your feedback. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your afternoon.